Welcome to the Causenetic podcast.
This podcast amplifies the topics you want to hear about.
Causenetic means being a person or thing that gives rise to something that is dynamic or energizing.
Globally minded and locally focused.
I'm Keith Benson.
And I'm Roderick Ross.
Today we're going to talk about, do I do that? Some of y'all may remember Urkel. And so leadership blind spots is what we're going to focus in on today. And leadership blind spots are specific areas where a leader, regardless whether it's a successful leader or not, is missing something, right? Mm-hmm. And so in 1955, two American psychologists came up with this theory of Johari's window.
Right.
And it has four areas. So one is open. So open is known to you and others. Mm-hmm. And then there's hidden. That's known to you, but unknown to others. Mm-hmm. And then there's unknown. So with unknown, neither known to you or to others. Mm-hmm. And then there's blind. And blind is known to others, but not known to you.
And that's all in regards to blind spots, huh?
Exactly.
Okay. So let me give you a quick fact, right? A little fun fact.
Okay.
Travis Bradberry, who was the author of Emotional Intelligence 2.0, a great book, quick read, highly recommended for people to kind of do a self-inventory. But in this book, he says that as leaders ascend through an organization, their self-awareness and their emotional intelligence, right? Their EQ declines. You would think the more experience that you get, and the more you move, that your EQ would raise up. But he said, no, it declines. So the most emotionally intelligent, the managers and the people who are at that mid-management level have the least amount of blind spots. But as you move into C-suite positions, on average, they have the lowest EQ scores in the workplace. They have the most blind spots.
I mean, because you've risen to the top.
Right.
And folks say, I'm fortunate to be in a role as VP of operations. Mm-hmm. And it's only but so many folks between myself and the CEO.
Right.
And it's lonely up there.
It's you're sad?
I'm not sad. I'm good to be a VP of operations.
Okay then. All right then.
So don't say
that.
Yeah. But sometimes you just miss things because you don't maybe have that regular interaction with the mass of the staff.
Yeah.
You're only dealing with just a few staff. Yeah. But it's in our wheelhouse that we have to make sure that we're impacting this company's culture to make sure that the staff is happy, make sure the team is meeting those different goals. Mm-hmm. But yet sometimes we may miss it because we have these blind spots.
Yeah, and I noticed that the higher up you get to, the more people try to insulate you, right? They don't want to disappoint you. They don't always tell you every tidbit. They don't want to take up all of your time or seem really needy by telling you so much. And because you don't always get to know to every detail what's going on, that can cause you to have blind spots as well.
Because what happens is that people pump you up. Oh, you're the greatest.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're doing a great and awesome job.
Like Kurt Hazelbaker is the best CEO on the planet, bar none. Dallas YMCA.
But sometimes people forget that we are just human beings.
Just human beings.
But at the same time, we do have to be self-aware.
Right. So there are a couple of things that will cause people to increase their propensity to have a blind spot. So if you're a leader, listen up. Going at it alone, trying to do stuff by yourself, definitely going to cause you to have blind spots. Being insensitive about your behavior around others, that's a no-no. It's going to cause you to have a blind spot. Having an I know it all attitude, you might want to get into the habit of valuing what other people have to, say and pour in, as opposed to valuing being right all the time. Avoiding difficult conversations. How many times have we seen that happen? Folks just kind of let things fly because they don't want to have that tough conversation. Right. Blaming others, treating commitments casually, conspiring against others, not taking a stand, and then sometimes just tolerating good enough just so you can make it through. Those are all things that will help increase your propensity to have a blind spot as a leader.
Yeah, we got to be able to hear from others and be able to give them that space to be able to be truthful with them.
Yeah.
And a lot of times as a leader, you kind of try not to put off people, but just because of your movement is different from the masses, you fall into that trap sometime of truly really meaning that, hey, my door's open. Yeah. Yes, you can come in. Right. And not so people being hesitant. So, sometimes I look at the threshold and it's almost like when somebody comes to the office, it's almost like the door's open. Mm-hmm. It's okay for you to cross the threshold, but man, it's like come right up to the edge of the threshold.
The people are standing in the hallway talking to you.
Like, come on in.
Did you give them a look?
Yeah.
How'd you look at them? Did you give them a look?
I give them a smile and a look, so invite them to come on in. But some people take the title to misjudge that. Hey, this person is all that and some. Right. But no, come on in. As a leader, you got to be able to break down that wall so people can approach you with no problem.
Creating that culture of it's we over me.
Right.
Yeah. Some of the other solutions could be surrounding yourself with diverse thinkers, right? And creating that space for them to push back.
And what is that? I mean, take a little deeper dive into that.
So, for me, I know that my style is ready, fire, aim, right? Like if I get an idea and I think something will be incredible to do, then I do it. And then I have these moments where it's like, I probably should have thought about that a little more. So when I'm surrounding myself with a team, I definitely want to make sure that I have someone around me who is data driven, someone else around me who is a little bit more cautious to be like, okay, let me play devil's advocate and ask one more question to make sure we're ready. And then, my role is to make sure we don't get stuck in analysis paralysis, right? And just only looking at numbers or only asking a million questions that eventually we just get up and do it. So by creating that diverse thinking pattern, I've really found some successes in some of the things that we're trying to do at my particular YMCA.
Yeah. So some of it's that as a leader, you got to be self-aware, but also, I want to push back to say that people who are following the leader or who reports to the leader, that, man, you got to be courageous enough to be able to say something also. Right. If there's a true blind spot. Right.
How would you know if you're following someone and there's a blind spot? Like, how would you know that was a blind spot and not just a character, right? Because some people may think, oh, that's just the way they are. I'm not going to say anything because if I say anything, essentially I'm saying your character is yucky. And so I'm pointing that part out. And who wants to do that to their boss? Not me.
Well, I think that, again, if you have a supervisor that is truly a leader, you can have that critical conversation with them. Right. Now, the tough part is that not everybody knows how to have that conversation.
Right. That's true.
And, you work yourself up to like, man, how do I say that, man, this really irritates me, supervisor, of what you do. But at some point, you got to be able to say that in some good ways.
Leaders too, not always waiting for, folks that they work with. They really need to find a blind spot buddy. Do you have a blind spot buddy?
Yes, I have.
I'm your blind spot buddy. I am volunteering to be your blind spot buddy, whether you like it or not.
Yes, you are one of those ones.
Thank you. I accept. I'd like to thank the Academy for this opportunity, my parents for instilling in me the ability. I accept.
But I have a couple of people, and I open that up to my staff to really check me. And we have a team of people that when we sit around the table, there's only a few of us, and so it's not a matter of pointing the finger somewhere. We all know what that finger is going to get pointed at for whatever mistake it is, but we check each other in this regular way to be able to open that up. And because of relationships that have been built over time, it's come to this place that they can say it very direct, but because of the relationship, it's just a regular part of conversation.
Right. So speaking of which, a part of, being a leader and trying to mitigate your blind spots, you have to identify your triggers. Do you know what your triggers are, Pete?
Yes, I know.
What's one of your triggers? This is going to get so delicious right now. What's one of your triggers? I think I know them because I try and trigger them, but there's that.
What do you think one may be?
One of your triggers is when you're trying to get a thought out and you're processing in your head and you go to take a breath and I just interject. You're like, I wasn't finished the thought.
Yeah, because I am a processor.
I know.
And so some people may think like, man, Keith doesn't like something or Keith's upset about something. I'm just taking it all in to gather my thoughts, because I know when I come out, I don't talk as fast as somebody like yourself. And
that felt like some low-key shade, but okay.
Okay, well, right. I think those who are listening will understand. And so I have to make sure that my thoughts are gathered in such a way that I can lay that out. Because typically I'm fairly methodical in some approaches, and so it's going to be here's 1, 2, 3 type of when my response comes out. Okay.
Would you say your people know your triggers?
There's some that know it. Okay. Those who there's a couple of staff that's been with me for a while. They know pretty darn clear what some of those are.
So what happens if your trigger gets triggered in the course of a conversation or whatever with someone, and you're trying to like, okay, I don't want that to cause a blind spot. Like, what do you do?
For me, I take a deep breath.
Okay. You do a lot of breathing, huh? That's why I always see you breathing so hard. That's
a good thing. I'm glad you see me breathing every time you see me.
Your nose was stopped up or something.
If you did see me breathing,
you'd
be viewing me.
There's that too.
I'd rather for you to see me than view me.
Oh, well, amen.
So there's that. But the great part about my staff team that I get to work with day in and day out is that we can bring up those issues. They know that they can address it, and they can pretty much answer a question almost before they get it out of their mouth.
Oh,
and they'd be like, it's nothing funny than when they would ask me a question, they stop me and say, never mind, I got it.
You get a little smile on your face like, Padawan, I am very proud of you at this moment. Yes. Well, the critical thing and the main thing to really remember about blind spots is that everyone has them, right? Like, it is just because we take in so much data and so much information at any given moment, it just creates these blind spots and things that just aren't on our conscious. But just being intentional about putting practices in place to kind of lessen, how blind spots show up in your leadership from day to day.
And sometimes we talk about looking at blind spots. It's not a matter of a supervisor identifying that to someone that reports to them. I mean, it's both ways. So sometimes we just, let's remove the job title for a moment and just look at a person to a person. Right. Because we're both human beings. We have opinions. We sit in the seats that we do because somebody thought enough of us that we could do the job. And so let's respect the person.
Right.
And so that we can respect the job that each person does and what they have to bring to the table. Because as a leader, if I'm just giving you all the solutions, I'm not being a very good leader.
Right.
I'm just a dictator, really.
Absolutely.
And not a leader.
And
so
people aren't going to work in that space for so long.
Exactly. So we got to raise up champions who are going to move our organization forward in such a way that's going to create, greater impact for us.
And also have leaders who make sure that they solicit feedback and solicit it in the right way. Like you were saying, just, take our name tags and our titles off and let's just have some deep, genuine conversations and try to reach the same successes together.
And make sure that, as a leader, you are making sure you're getting the input and encouraging people to share different ideas so that we can have innovation that comes out at the end and not just this one way of doing things.
Man, look at that. This might be the first time ever that we agree on something.
Wow. Well, on that note right there, thank you for listening to Causenetic,
where our conversations are
globally minded, and locally focused.
Check us out at www.ymcadallas.org/Causenetic.
And as always,
stay dynamic,
stay energized,
stay Causenetic.